Have you ever wondered why some guitarists tune their guitar this way? Kia ora fellow guitarists, my name is Josh Rogers and welcome to NBN Guitar. If you find value in this lesson, please consider subscribing to the channel. To answer that question, they're using natural harmonics to tune their guitars because both strings can ring at the same time, and it's often a little bit easier to hear the oscillation or shaking effect that occurs when the notes are close to being in tune. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to tune a guitar with itself using natural harmonics. I'm using an acoustic guitar, however this method can be used to tune classical or electric guitars with 6 strings. This tuning method uses natural harmonics. Which are clear bell-like sounds produced by lightly touching strings above certain positions, usually above the frets but not always, and then picking that string. 2 things to note for playing natural harmonics. 1, you want to pick closer to the bridge to produce a much clearer natural harmonic. If you pick up here, it's not quite as clear. 2, treat the strings as if they're red hot. You just want to touch it at the same time that you pick and then get your finger off there straight away. Physically learning how to do it may just take you a couple of hours. The real challenge for some lies in hearing pitches change, being able to move the pitch in the right direction and finally having it land on the right pitch. The names of the strings are as follows: E, A, D, G, B, E. You will need to turn the tuning pegs or tuners, which are these things, either clockwise or anti-clockwise to raise or lower the pitch of the strings. Raising the pitch means to go from a lower pitch to a higher pitch, like this. Lowering the pitch means to go from a higher pitch to a lower pitch, like this. Let's learn this. Place your first finger gently on the E string directly over the 5th fret. Play the note and lift your finger immediately. While that note is ringing, place your 3rd finger on the A string directly over the 7th fret. Play the note and release your finger immediately. At this point, both strings should be ringing. We need to match the pitch of the 5th string to the pitch of the E string. This is where the challenge of tuning by ear comes in. The interesting thing with tuning guitars like this is that we cannot physically see if a note is at the same pitch as another note. We have to listen to determine whether the A string is lower, higher, or at the same pitch as the E string. Electronic tuners are awesome because they provide a visual reference that allows us to see the pitch of the note. If the note on the A string is higher in pitch, we'll have to lower it by turning the tuning peg. Usually we'll turn it clockwise to lower the pitch. However, depending on how your guitar strings are being put on, it may be the opposite direction. Just in case you don't know, if you lower the pitch, the string tension or tightness will lessen, so you can feel if you're going in the right direction, which can be helpful if you can't tell if the pitch is going higher or lower at this stage. Conversely, if you feel the string tension increase and tighten, you are raising the pitch. As the A string approaches the pitch of the E string, you may hear a strange oscillating sound. It sounds a bit like a steady pulse that may be quite rapid at first, and as the pitch of the A string gets closer and closer to the pitch of the E string, that pulse starts to slow down. If you can hear this, it is an extremely useful and highly accurate phenomenon that can be used to our advantage. So keep turning the tuner until the pulse is no longer audible. That means the 2 strings are vibrating at the same frequency, i.e. they're in tune. You may have to repeat it several times to get it just right. At this point, I want to quickly mention that the next 2 strings are tuned in exactly the same way, i.e. 5th fret, followed by 7th fret on the string you're trying to tune. The E string can also be tuned in the same way. 5th fret on the B string followed by 7th fret on the E string. However, I'm still going to explain it string by string. Let's move on to tuning the D string. To tune the D string, place your first finger gently on the A string directly over the 5th fret. Play the note and lift your finger immediately. While that note is ringing, place your 3rd finger on the D string directly over the 7th fret. Play the note and release your finger immediately. Follow the process mentioned earlier by turning the tuning peg until the 2 strings pitches match. To tune the G string, place your first finger gently on the D string directly over the 5th fret. Play the note and lift your finger immediately. While that note is ringing, place your 3rd finger on the G string directly over the 7th fret. Play the note and release your finger immediately. Follow the process mentioned earlier by turning the tuning peg until the 2 strings pitches match. To tune the B string, place your first finger gently on the E string, directly over the 7th fret. While that note is ringing, place your 3rd or 4th finger on the B string, directly over the 12th fret. Play the notes and release your fingers immediately. Follow the process mentioned earlier by turning the tuning peg until the 2 strings pitches match. There are 2 options when it comes to tuning the E string. Option 1, same position as tuning the A, D, and G strings. To tune the E string, place your first finger gently on the B string, directly over the 5th fret. Play the note and lift your finger immediately. While that note is ringing, place your 3rd or 4th finger on the E string directly over the 7th fret. Play the note and release your finger immediately. Follow the process mentioned earlier by turning the tuning peg until the 2 strings pitches match. Option 2. To tune the E string, place your first finger gently on the A string directly over the 7th fret. Play the note and then lift your finger off immediately. While that note is ringing, place your 3rd or 4th finger directly over the E string's 12th fret. Play the note and release your finger immediately. Follow the process mentioned earlier by turning the tuning peg until the 2 strings pitches match. Tuning a guitar using this method does have its shortcomings. If the 6th string is already far too high or too low, you may run the risk of breaking other strings as you tune upwards, or not being able to tune it all because the 6th string is too deep in pitch and the other strings just flop around underneath your fingers. So this method runs off the assumption that your 6th string isn't too far out of tune to begin with. Number 2, playing natural harmonics takes a delicate and precise touch, and it isn't a technique generally associated with beginners. Final checks. At this point, your guitar should be in tune. However, it is very important to go back through the tuning process to check that the other strings are still in tune. After you're done checking, try strumming a few chords. Or picking a few notes across the strings. process can help you to identify any strings that are still out of tune, allowing you to make micro adjustments one more time to really get your guitar sounding as good as it can. One of the quirks of guitars is that they move and shift because they're usually made from wood and the neck is under tension. If you've followed all the steps and your guitar still sounds out of tune, then there could be a couple of things that are wrong. Strings may be too old or too new. New strings tend to stretch, so they will go flat quite rapidly, even if you're not playing your guitar. This just means you'll need to keep retuning your guitar until they've settled in. Old strings, on the other hand, may have lost their ability to hold pitch, and there could even be some excess wear and tear on the windings of the wound strings. In this case, you'll need to replace them with a shiny new set. Intonation issues. Intonation is the accuracy of each note's pitch across the entire fretboard. If your guitar has intonation problems, it'll never sound in tune no matter how accurately you tune it. Or it may sound in tune in some places along the fretboard, but not in others. If this is the case, you'll need to take it to a guitar tech or luthier to have it looked over. Lastly, it's great practice to tune up to the pitch because this keeps the tension on the string and seems to be a bit easier for the ears to recognize rather than tuning down to the right pitch, like this. So we want to come up, not down. Want to learn guitar faster? Check out my beginner guitar course at mbnguitar.com. It's designed to take you from beginner to confident player step by step. If this lesson helped you, hit the subscribe for more easy to follow guitar tutorials. Thanks for watching, and as you know, let your fingers fly.